The Adventures of David Perkins. Like, subscribe, comment. Hello and welcome to The Adventures of David Perkins. This time I'm walking around Birdoswald Roman Fort and Hadrian's Wall in the county of Cumbria in England. Following the invasion of Britain by the Emperor Claudius in the year 43, the Romans began to gain control of the country, with the Roman governor Agricola finally defeating the Caledonians from the north of what is now Scotland at the Battle of Mons Graupius near Inverness in the year 84. But by the year 87, a crisis on the Danube frontier led to the withdrawal of Roman troops from Britain, and by the year 100, the northern frontier had fallen back to the Tyne-Solway line. However, the reign of Emperor Hadrian marked a change in Roman policy. Rather than extending the empire, Hadrian wished to consolidate Roman territory behind a secure frontier. Part of this policy was the construction of a wall in northern Britain, possibly initiated during Hadrian's visit to Britain in the year 122. The purpose of the wall was to control access into Britain, as well as providing defensive and military capabilities. During the early 2nd century, between about the years 100 and 120, a small square tower was built at Birdoswald, probably for signalling to the forts to the south. About the year 130, the stone fort of Birdoswald began to be constructed. The stone walls of this phase are those that can be seen enclosing the fort today. The interior of the wall was built up with a complex of streets and buildings, including a headquarters, a commanding officer's house, a drill hall, stores and barracks. With the assassination of the Emperor Commodus in the year 192, a struggle for the throne began. The matter would not be settled until the year 198, when Septimius Severus, the governor of Upper Pannonia, in modern-day Hungary, defeated the governor of Britain, Clodius Albinus. Severus campaigned in Scotland from the year 208 until his death at York in the year 211, and during this time Severus restored and renovated Hadrian's Wall. In the late 3rd century, the Roman Empire was divided into two, with a senior, Augustus, and a junior, Caesar, emperor, in each of the eastern and western halves. This system was known as the Tetrarchy, and was devised by the Emperor Diocletian, who himself became the Augustus of the East. In Britain at the same time, Saxon raiding ships from northern Germany and Denmark started to appear in the North Sea and English Channel. A senior military figure, Carausius, was given a coastal command to combat the threat, but in the year 286 he took the fleet and declared himself Emperor of the British provinces, effectively making himself a third Augustus. Carausius established a new coastal frontier known as the Saxon Shore, defended with forts on the south and east coasts of Britain. During this time, some wall forts may have been partly deserted to man the new shore forts. Carausius was murdered by his secretary, Electus, who assumed the imperial title, but in the year 296, the Caesar of the West, Constantius Chlorus, invaded and recovered the British provinces for Rome. It is possible that under Carausius, Birdoswald would have been briefly abandoned or the garrison reduced. An inscription from the site, dating from the time of Constantius Chlorus between the years 297 and 305, records that the commander's residence was rebuilt and that both the headquarters and the fort's bathhouse also required attention. Constantius Chlorus then remained in Britain until his death in the year 306. During his time in Britain, he campaigned north of Hadrian's Wall against the Picts, a hostile confederation of tribes that emerged from what is today North and East Scotland. His son, Constantine, continued these campaigns, and on his father's death, the troops at York acclaimed Constantine as emperor. Constantine eventually left Britain to pursue his claim as emperor in Rome, and thereafter founded the city of Constantinople. During the 4th century, there was further warfare in northern Britain. In the winter of the year 342, the Emperor Constantine's son, was forced to come to Britain to deal with rebellion, and in the year 360, the Picts and Scots attacked. An army under the general Licinius was sent to suppress them. The rebellion culminated in the year 367 when several northern and Irish tribes attacked the province in unison, killing 2 senior Roman generals. The rebellion was eventually quelled by the Count of Britain, General Theodosius. During the closing years of the 4th century, troops were withdrawn from Britain as the Roman Empire began to collapse. A number of British pretenders to the Roman throne, such as Magnus Maximus in the year 382 and Constantine III in the year 407, led armies away from Britain to fight on the continent. These movements affected the field armies in Britain, although not the frontier troops of the Wall, who it seems were left to guard the province. From the year 409, there appears to have been a rejection of centralised Roman government in the country. The provincial aristocracy of Britain began to object to paying high taxes for an imperial defence administration that was no longer useful to them, and in many places no longer present.